Hello, everybody. We are starting off this episode with a trigger warning. In this episode, we talk heavily about mental health, suicide. We talk about racial issues, unhealthy relationships with social media. If these things are anything that could trigger you, this is not the podcast for you. We are going to put links in our description to mental health services if you need to reach out for help. But we will see you on another podcast where we talk about things that aren't this.
Yep.
But if you are staying to listen to the podcast, we hope you enjoy this as much as we enjoyed recording it. What's up, swag bosses? 2.0. This is Bo Burnham's Inside 2.0. Let's go.
If you missed part one last week, you might want to go listen to that. We give you a little background on where we've been for the last couple of weeks and how our lives are going. And then we break down the first little part of Inside. And welcome back for part two, where we go even deeper and get even sadder.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, boy. We're just going to transition real quick right into that episode because you know what's happened to us this week.
Yeah, segues are really weird, you know? So there might not be any smooth transition, and I think you should cut it off there. Next, the little bit between problematic, and the next song is...
ATL?
No, it is the clock bit.
The clock bit?
Where he's like, I'm working on this for 6 months, and I want to finish this by the time I'm 30, but I turned 30 in less than a minute now. Clock bit, I for some reason want just like an 11:59 tattoo, which I shouldn't get. But next is 30, which again, it gives this feeling of being like 10 steps behind everyone in life, which is a feeling I constantly feel. I feel that all the time right now. I feel like a lot of my friends are in like very loving, healthy relationships, to the point where they're like talking about getting married or like wanting to get married. And I'm just like, I work at Starbucks and I don't know, I have mental illness. Drunk Elephant sent me some stuff, but like, that's all I got going for me.
Yeah. You and I have been talking a lot, well, not recently, but at the beginning of the year, we're talking a lot about that feeling of behind, because it is something that we've been sort of toying with for a thing that we're writing. Ha ha ha. It's not like we don't talk about that thing all the time. But that it's such like okay. Have you ever heard of Peter Pan syndrome?
Oh yeah.
You know, like when people feel like they're stuck in like their teenage years, etc. It's like the opposite of that. It's like wanting to be that ideal of an adult that we can't possibly be because it doesn't exist, you know? I was watching an episode of Trixie and Katya's show. Yeah, exactly.
Where we talk about whatever we want, because it's our show and not yours. Wait, who between the two of us, who's Trixie and who's Katya? I feel like I'm Katya.
Probably, because I say all the stupid stuff. But like, well, no, they both say stupid stuff.
I'm more of a disaster though, so.
Fair.
And Trixie's in a very loving relationship.
Fair.
Me? No.
I was watching their disappointment episode, which I think just came out a couple days ago. And one of the things that they said is a disappointment is becoming an adult. Because you see your parents, you see these adults who've like figured it all out, and then you reach it and you're like, so when am I going to be that? When am I going to have it figured out? And you're never going to figure it out because nobody's got it figured out. We're all just trying our best. Ha ha ha. And like 30 is a really good example for me, a really good example of like, when am I going to get there? When am I going to be that person? And it's like, you're never going to be that person. You are the person you are right now in this moment. But there's still so much pressure to be your age, to act your age. And like, I don't like to tell people how old I am, not because I want people to perceive me as younger, but because I'm constantly perceived as older. And I'm afraid that if people find out how young I am, they're going to discredit all that I have done and intend to do, you know? So I try not to talk about how old I am. People are constantly, thinking I'm pushing 30. I am not.
I'm turning 30. Sorry.
What was I saying? God damn it, B. But like, there's so much pressure to act your age. And it's like, what does that even mean?
Yeah, literally. Don't tell me to act my age.
Age is
tell me how to act my age.
Right?
You act your own age.
If you're going to tell me how to act my age, you're going to tell me what the to-do list is. Like,
literally.
Like, there's so much pressure. Okay, at 18, you go into college. At 21, you graduate. By 25, you're married. By 30, you've got 2 kids and a big mansion on the hill, you know, and you're making all this money. And it's like, okay, maybe that worked in the 50s, but like, we now have the power to decide who we want to be and to decide our lives. Is that really what I want? You know, but we still sit here and go, okay, I'm turning whatever age I'm turning. See, I won't even say my age. That's so funny. I'm turning 22 in a couple of weeks. And it's like, what do you do at 22? Who am I supposed to be? You know? And I keep like,
whoever you want to be.
Yeah. And like listening to 30, I was like, holy shit. Like, okay, what have other people done at 22? Like Barbara Streisand was a big star at 22. And I'm like, what am I doing with my life? If Barbara Streisand could do it, why can't I? Because she's Barbara Streisand. I'm not Barbara Streisand. Barbara Streisand lived in New York and was very lucky, you know?
You know who I am at 22 years old? That bitch.
Yeah. I'm that bitch who's going to make a legacy and be Aurora McLennan. Period.
Hell yeah.
And I think it's so difficult to be like, we all need to think of our lives that way. Our lives are our own and we can't compare them to someone else's. But there's always going to be that pressure. And 30 is just like a reminder of that pressure. And there's a little bit of anxiety behind it because it's like, I have not lived up to the societal pressures of being a 30-year-old. Just as I sit here going, I have not lived up to the societal pressures of being a 22-year-old, you know?
Something super important about 30, as at the very end, there's the, it's 2020 and I'm 30, I'll do another 10, 20, yeah. 30, I'll be 40 and unalive myself then.
Yep.
And afterwards, he's like, so I just want to say, don't kill yourself. Just don't. And you see the video playing, and then you see older Bo in the future listening to that. And at first, I was talking about one of the actors in Hot as Hell, Xander, who is a really good friend of mine. Xander, if you're listening to this, I love you so much. We were just talking about Inside at the end of rehearsal, and both of us were like, yeah, I thought it was a really funny juxtaposition at first, being like, oh, he's so sad, and now he's listening to him, you know, saying this optimistic stuff. But after thinking on it for like all of 3 minutes, I was like, oh, he's using his past words to talk him out of killing himself.
Yeah. Yeah.
And it took me 3 minutes of listening, and I was like, wait a damn minute, and I paused it. I was like,
yeah.
Ooh.
Yeah.
Ooh. And as a person who has dealt with suicidal thoughts, it's something that you do. I often will write letters to myself to open a year in advance. I do it every single year before New Year's, and then on New Year's Eve, I will open that letter and read it, and I write a letter to myself and just being like, I hope you're happy. And it's kind of a thing that you do. And seeing somebody do that, but in such a raw way, where literally it's just openly being like, don't kill yourself. You don't want to do that.
Yeah. Yeah. That was another moment that I had to pause because I've been going through it recently. Because my brother and I both have said this. We've both been asked a couple of times, like, are you actually going to do it? And we both have the same answer. And that's, no, I've got too much to do first. Which is such a silly answer. But it's true. But like watching that back, I was like, the amount of, like, not the amount of time, but there's been a couple of times, including that one incident where I've sat there and been like, you should just do it. And then I go, listen to yourself again. You don't have time for that. And
it's like I have dishes to do.
Yeah. I was just like watching him watch himself. And I was like, yep. Like obviously in a different way because I approach it differently, but I was like, yeah. Watching that moment, I was kind of like, interesting that we all sort of have our tactic of approaching it. And mine is more like putting more pressure on myself in a different way. Yeah. This got real deep and dark.
Yeah, very quickly. I, however, am a person who has dealt with that before. This is a lot of opening up in this episode, but I think this is a right time to open up about this. I am a 2-time suicide attempt survivor. It's 2 separate times. Since then, I have gone through lots of treatment. I'm still in treatment, therapy, psychiatrist, and that's completely okay. And it was almost in that moment, a mirror was held up to me and was kind of like, you do this.
Yeah.
And you don't even realize that you do this.
Mm-hmm.
You don't even think about consciously like, hey, this is something you've done. And I realized I do it in things like looking through my old bullet journals, because you can really tell the track of when I started bullet journaling, when I was really not doing great. I had a lot of memory loss, just because I felt like I was just going through the motions every day.
Mm-hmm.
I wasn't actually doing anything. So I started bullet journaling to help me remember things. And I literally, in some books, put reasons to keep going, snack options for when you're too lazy to cook anything, things like that. And looking through them, I do that whenever I feel myself getting bad again. And so that moment of hearing him listen to himself just was like, you do this, but in a different way. You write letters to yourself every year. You look through your old bullet journals. You look through your old stuff because you know that it's going to stop you. And it was just the first moment that I was like, I wonder what SSRI Bo Burnham is on. Is it Prozac? Anyways, we're going to move on from that topic. Then it was intermission.
Yeah, that made me laugh. Intermission made me laugh because it reminded me of like the old Rodgers and Hammerstein movie musicals. And I was like, Sound of Music.
Next, we have Don't Want to Know, which, again, not my favorite song in the entire show, but it's very jazzy. And it just made me like...
I like Don't Want to Know. I don't have any reason why I like it. I think I just like the sound of it.
Yeah, I like the sound of it. Well. It's thought very, it'd be over by now, but I got a while to go.
Yeah.
I think, give away the ending, but you don't want to know.
I think it's one of those ones that super relatable, et cetera, especially like to me who's been trying to create a lot of stuff during this pandemic and wearing myself thin. It's very relatable, but I also try to ignore it a little bit for exactly the reason that he states in the song, because it is like, I don't want to know what it feels like. And it's right there. It's right there, but in the nicest manner possible. So I just like listen to the melody and go, oh, pretty.
Ooh. Next up, we have Shit, which a whole meme. There are text messages between Aurora and I where Aurora's like, how are you feeling? And I was like, I am not feeling good. And then we just like quoted, at least you didn't wake up at 11:30. Like, are all your clothes dirty? Most of them are. Oh.
Yeah, I texted that to you, and then you said most of them are, and I went, oh, did she not get it?
Oh, I got the bit.
I was like, B would get this? Why didn't B get this?
I did get it. I got it right away. I was just really sad, so I did not have the energy to
That's so fair. That's so fair. I was just like, oh no, did I quote something that B didn't pick up on? Oh no.
There's no way I could go through that.
Funny.
But yeah, Shit's just a really funny way of being like, depression. I can't take care of myself anymore.
It's mental health TikTok humor on display in form of a song.
It's like how we joke about trauma.
Like, I don't like TikTok mental health humor because I'm just like, I'm at that point now where like it was funny for a while, and now I'm at the point where I'm like, I just want to deal with my mental health, But I kind of like the song because it's like, ooh, this is how we treat it, and that's not good.
I just really like the ladies. Do you feel like shit? Yep. Tell me, do you feel like shit?
I was literally singing that to myself earlier today.
I just love fellas. Fellas, you feeling like shit? Tell me, do you feeling like shit?
Oh yeah.
I don't know. It's so funny to me. Like, I'll be in my car. I listen to it every morning as I drive to work.
Hilarious.
And I'm just like dancing in my car as I'm driving in like a suburban neighborhood to get to fucking Starbucks at 5:30 in the morning. Just listening, blasting shit by Boburn. I really am. It's my favorite part of my day at this point. I'm about to get my coffee. This is always filled with water, and I'm sipping on my water, and I'm just blasting shit by Bo Burnham and just
hilarious.
Yeah,
hilarious.
I just think it really shows how this generation. There's also, I'll talk about this again later. How this generation has dealt with our trauma, because all the time we're like, yeah, everything in my life is a mess, but let's make a joke.
I think that's partially because we are finally addressing mental health and trauma, but not making it accessible. So what do we have except humor?
The fact that we're fucking hilarious because we dealt with trauma. I'm
funny.
Perpetuating the stereotype we're talking about right now.
Yeah, exactly. But this song is a really good example of that. And long story short, therapy should be free. Therapy should be covered under healthcare.
Next, we have, I actually get coverage for mental health services through Starbucks. So,
thanks for listening to the podcast. I'm going to go burn your house down.
Cool. I have the cup fund, so it'll be fine. Up next, we have All Time Low, which is exactly how I was feeling last night when I was trying to go to sleep.
That one, I really appreciate All Time Low because, for me,
again, it shows it in a jokey way where you're like,
but I also view it as like, I have to outwardly be like, yeah, I'm great. I feel terrible, but I'm great. And I'm here for you in this Zoom meeting, ready to be a support for this company, et cetera, et cetera. But on the inside, I am dead. Like right now, if I wasn't, I've been laying on the couch all day because I just feel like burnt, and I have a rehearsal after this. So I am once again going to be putting on a face, but underneath it all, I am like, I would like to cease to exist. I do not want to be seen by the world. I do not want to exist in this world. That's what All Time Low is to me. Same. Also, it's Atlanta.
Up next, welcome to the internet.
Nope, done. Moving on. Goodbye.
I'll talk about welcome to the internet for a bit. Sure. I think it shows a really welcome to the internet freaks me out. Because listening to it, I'm a person who I guess has a following on the internet. And I'm continuing to build a following. And seeing all these different things of like covering up all these fucking terrible things with just jokes and life hacks and dances and things. It's like I'm contributing to that. And so it freaked me the fuck out. And I was like, I'm a terrible person. I'm a terrible person. But then I also had to remember that like I choose how I run my platform.
Yep.
And kind of going back to White Woman's Instagram, being like, no, I can choose to talk more about mental health and be open about what I'm feeling with people on the internet rather than just being like, everything's good.
Yeah.
But it freaked me the fuck out. It shows it shows how fun and how dangerous the internet can be.
Oh, absolutely. I said this earlier, I had a full breakdown during Welcome to the Internet, and it's taken me forever to figure out exactly why. But I think part of it is because I I wasn't really allowed on the internet until I was about 11 or so. So I wasn't slowly integrated like so many of my friends have been, which is so weird to say because also a lot of people around our age didn't grow up with the internet at all. Like it was
I
kind of like a
didn't.
mid-90s. Yeah. We had a computer in our house, but I was only really allowed to use it for games. Like I had a couple of so I was very disconnected from the world. And like at 11, you're supposed to be, you're not really supposed to know what's going on. But when I was 13, my dad was like, yeah, we'll create you a Facebook and a Twitter account, but it had to be secret because my mom couldn't know. So suddenly I was on these accounts, unsupervised, exploring the world, And Facebook and Twitter are terrifying places to be as a child. And like, I didn't, I know a lot of kids get on them when they're like 7 and 8 years old. God knows why. Just to like appear cool and whatever, I guess.
Yeah, my kids are never.
No, they are terrifying places to be. And like, I got lucky with Twitter. I ended up in like the theater community, which, outwardly you think, oh, a wonderful place to be. Not at all. Not at all. I was bullied on Twitter by strangers for no reason when I was like 14 years old. But then, as I get older and I've now, been on social media for a while and I start to be bullied in real life and experience like actual issues and like seeing that all play out on social media and like.
I'm sorry, I shouldn't laugh at that, but as soon as you were like, then I started getting bullied in real life, I was like, same.
I was bullied a lot before that, but like we're gonna talk about the social media aspect of it. I was watching like friendships crumble via social media. And then suddenly it was like, well, why aren't you actively talking about everything that's happening in the world on your social media? Do you not support everything? And I was like, I just lost my friend for no good goddamn reason. And you want me to start talking about a war that I know absolutely nothing about? Otherwise, I'm a bad person. Social media doesn't allow you to mourn your own life before it forces you to pay attention to something else. And if you're not paying attention to the right things, you're a bad person, And like, there's been so much time where I'm like, well, I guess I have to retweet that. Otherwise I'll be seen as a bad person. But I'm so uneducated on that if people start asking me questions about it, I'm not going to be able to talk to them. So it's like this catch-22. It's like, do I retweet this so I seem like a good person? Or do I not retweet it so that I can either save myself the pressure and the anxiety, or so I can go educate myself? And when I was younger, I would just not retweet things because I was like, I don't want to have to deal with that. And as I've gotten older, I'm like, no, I'm going to retweet it because, that I want people to know that I care. And now I'm sitting here going, it's not about people knowing that I care. It's me understanding what I understand, And social media doesn't really let you be that way. Social media expects you to outwardly show where you stand. And the minute you fall out of line with that, you're shot dead,
Social media, at least in my opinion, is the cause of a lot of performative activism.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
Because it's so easy for you to retweet something and say that you care, and people are like, oh, this person retweets all this stuff. They posted the black square on their Instagram for Black Lives Matter, and they posted a photo of them at a protest. And but I remember going to at least the Black Lives Matter protest in my town, and so many people taking photos and using it as a photo opportunity rather than a place to speak out. Yeah. And there was a situation where there was a Black woman being harassed while she's trying to speak, and nobody said anything. I was the only person that stood between this white woman and the Black woman. I didn't say anything. I stood to keep the white woman from getting at the Black woman. And everybody else just kept taking their photos.
Yeah.
And holding their signs and posing. And I was like, this isn't a photo opportunity. This is life or death for Black people.
Yeah.
I posted a few photos from the event, but my phone wasn't out the whole time. I spent most of the time listening to the voices of the people of color around me. because that is one chance where they were willing to speak to me as a white person and say what I could do to help. I should never expect that from them.
Yeah.
It's a time when they were, and I chose to listen rather than take photos for my Instagram. And that's the biggest problem with the internet, in my opinion, is it is the cause of a lot of performative activism and tokenism of people of color. I'm getting heated.
It's also, though, the cause of a lot of harassment.
Oh yeah, so much.
Because if you are not exactly what people expect you to be, you're wrong. It's also, Twitter in particular has developed this culture of you have to think this one way, this one very, very, I talked about my on the fenceness of liberalism before on the pod. But it's that. Yeah. I
fucking when? Wait a minute, what episode was that?
I don't remember, but I'll explain it briefly again. It's just that we forget that to be a good, caring person, it goes beyond, like, liberalism as it stands right now is focused on middle-class white people.
Okay.
And that is not liberalism. That's not being a liberal or a Democrat or whatever. That's being biased and bigoted, you know? And I used AOC as an example. I think that was 2 episodes ago. I can't remember. I don't hate AOC. I used her as an example because she came from a lower class family and is now creating laws and stuff that focus mostly on the middle class. That was my example. But the thing about Twitter is that you have a lot of people who are very focused on that middle class, et cetera. And then a lot of people who will be like, okay, well, why don't you care about this? Okay, well, why don't you care about this? Like, you're not a liberal, or you're not like a good person if you don't care about this. And it's like, we cannot physically know everything and care about everything. And when it's really, a lot of it is younger people, and it's very, very good that they care and are educated, but you have to understand that we as human beings cannot handle knowing everything and cannot handle processing everything. And when we try to throw all of that at ourselves, we develop mental health issues, you know? So it's good to be aware, but we can't harass people for not being aware. And that's what a big thing that's happening on social media.
I guess I think to wrap all of this up into a bow, is the internet moves very quickly.
Yeah.
Which is, in my opinion, why the song always speeds up.
Oh,
it's always getting faster because the internet moves quickly. But it's okay with not just activism or being an ally to, women, LGBTQ, BIPOC, any of those people. It's okay to slowly take your time, but you still have to be willing to make yourself uncomfortable. Again, something from the book I'm reading.
You have to be willing, but
this work is not supposed to be comfortable. You're not supposed to have fun becoming aware of your own supremacy.
Yeah.
And this isn't saying like, oh, because I am female presenting and I'm in the LGBTQ plus community, I can't have white supremacy. No, I can't have white supremacy. I have white supremacy because I am a white person. It is something I possess because of society.
Yep.
And it's things that I'm taught growing up as a kid, which I am now, thankfully, because of my own realizations, trying to dismantle. And sometimes, example, with this book, I've taken a bit of a break from doing the work because it made me uncomfortable and put me in a really depressive episode. And Layla even says in the book, it's okay if you need to take breaks. Take breaks if you need them, because this work needs to be about love. So I think, to wrap this up in a bow, it's okay to take your time with this stuff.
And it's okay to not
know everything.
Yeah, and it's okay to not post everything on social media. It is okay to not retweet everything. It is okay to not know what's going on at the Georgia Zoo, you know?
Anyways, next, we have Bezos 2.
Yeah.
Funny.
Nice. Another really nice juxtaposition.
Oh, great with Welcome to the Internet shifting to Bezos 2.
Yeah. Imagine
because
me.
Of like the Jeffrey, you did it.
Imagine me sobbing through Welcome to the Internet. Bezos 2 comes on. I am still sobbing and also giggling at the same time. Like I am a full mental breakdown mess and also giggling. Imagine the insanity.
After that is the next 2 songs are my 2 favorite songs in the entire special. That Funny Feeling.
Yeah, it's a good one. It's, yeah.
And I recognized what the funny feeling was the other day. I thought I knew. My favorite line in that funny feeling is a gift shop at the gun range, a mass shooting at the mall, or the quiet comprehending of the ending of it all. Those are my favorite 2 lines in the entire thing. And I think that funny feeling shows how we as Generation Z, a lot of younger people, I learned this from when I worked as a scare actor with like high school kids, but it's not cool to use like the laughing crying emoji. It's cooler to use the skull. So we associate funny things with being dead. And it's almost just like, yeah, it's just thinking of like the entire world is a series of juxtapositions.
Yeah.
Or just terrible, terrible things happening, but we cover it up with doing this thing or how the world has turned so much into a virtual world rather than the actual physical world. It's so hard to talk about that funny feeling, but I kind of had the other day my own funny feeling. Sitting in bed and I'm talking to a Snapchat video, and as I'm talking and saying stuff, I stopped and I was like, in my head, I went, there's that funny feeling. Where I'm like, so many good things can be happening, but so many bad things are happening. And I'm just like here and I don't know what to do.
Yeah. I sort of view the song slightly differently. So for a long time and still currently, when I visit my grandparents, I get this weird anxiety feeling that I have always just referred to as this funny feeling that I get. And I've never really figured out what it is. I just, for whatever reason, the longer I'm around them, the more I just get like anxious and nauseous and start to disassociate and derealize. And I've never been able to like clock what it is. And then I was listening to this song and I had to pull up the lyrics. I had to get the whole thing right. And it was the full agoraphobic, losing focus, cover blown, a book on getting better, hand delivered by a drone, total disassociation, fully out your mind, Googling derealization, hating what you find. And then that unapparent summer air and early fall, the quiet comprehending at the end of it all. It's that comprehending that like, for me, it's that comprehending that everything ends and there's nothing we can do to stop it. But realizing and really processing that life really is just this boring, mundane, go about it until it ends thing. And you can't change that. And like, that's that feeling that I get, that like anxious, slightly nauseous feeling that I get when I'm around my grandparents, because they've just been living this life for however long and it is going to end. And that's such like a dark way to look at it, I know, but like all these terrible, terrible things happen in life and all these progressions happen. And we choose to ignore it because it is easier to ignore it and go through our lives and then just let our lives end, you know, than it is to address things and change things. It's easier to just let it go and die than it is to stand up, try and stop or change things and have us be remembered, you know?
But there's also a feeling of not being able to change things. You're like, what am
absolutely.
I going to do? Which again ties into that funny feeling.
Absolutely.
This song, including All Eyes on Me, but the same part, the total disassociation, fully out your mind, Googling to realization, hating what you find. I remember when my psychiatrist first brought up to me that he thought I might have DID.
Mm-hmm.
And I Googled it and was like, no,
Mm-hmm.
I don't like hearing about that.
Yep.
And I don't like it. And
Yep.
that was the song that made me just, it broke me. Yours was Welcome to the Internet. Mine was That Funny Feeling. Because I was just like, that is exactly what happened to me about a year ago. So I was like, I did the exact same thing. I was like, I'm going to learn about this. And oh shit, I don't like that thing. Let's close the laptop and we'll go and just tell jokes.
Yeah, because it's easier to just go through life than face it.
And then that song goes, That Funny Feeling goes into All Eyes on Me.
I never understood All Eyes on Me until recently.
I love All Eyes on Me. That is one of my favorite songs because it's this, to me, it's not just one person singing. It's like a person and then a future version of themselves. Kind of being like, dude, the ocean's rising. Like, I give a shit. You said the whole world's ending, though. And then it's like, it already did. Yeah. You're not going to slow it. Heaven knows you tried. Got it. Good. Now get inside.
Mm-hmm.
It's like a conversation you're having with yourself of you've tried to slow it and you know what you can do now. Exist.
Yeah. For me, it's just, it also feels like just a progression from Welcome to the Internet to That Funny Feeling to All Eyes on Me. Like the three of them all just tie into that, like that culture of you have to be aware, you have to change things, but it's so hard to exist and change things. It's so hard to exist in a world that expects you to be bigger than just a human being.
Oh yeah, and it's the point where Bo gets to talk about the anxiety that he has of having all eyes on him.
Exactly.
He talks in that song. Mind you, he did release a version that is just the song. It doesn't have the speech in the middle. But he talks about how he quit comedy. And it explained to me why he fell off the face of the earth. And again, this made me break down. I was like,
yeah,
I'm a dickhead because I was like, Bo needs to come back and do comedy. Why isn't he coming back and doing comedy? I never knew. And he was finally like, I quit because I was having panic attacks on stage. And I was like, oh. And how it was so ironic. The irony of in January of 2020, I thought I'm going to start performing again. And then the funniest thing happened. The thing that led him to having to be back inside this box.
Yeah.
Back into mental illness. And it just, I love All Eyes on Me.
That speech kind of broke me a little bit because as artists, well, as people in the 21st century in general, it's all about hustling. It's all about you have to make money. You have to create. You have to whatever. And I can't help but think about people like Robin Williams, who you start to burn out. You start to get older. You start to develop illnesses. And the world tells you you've got to keep going. You've got to keep going because there's an expectation on you, you know, especially as a celebrity, and you physically cannot, you know? And I am genuinely so proud of Bo for taking the time off.
Oh yeah, that's so much respect.
Yeah.
So much respect for him as an artist.
So many people aren't given that opportunity, you know? And like, when I heard that, okay, I used Robin Williams as an example because Robin Williams was really such an important part of my childhood. I used him as an example because, not because I think, if Robin Williams had taken time off, he would still be alive today. I can't say that, obviously. But I wonder if mental health was more accepted when he was a little bit younger, if perhaps he would have taken time off and thus would still be making films, It just got me
It's
thinking about that.
I do like that you brought up the connection between Welcome to the Internet, That Funny Feeling, and All Eyes on Me. All Eyes on Me. This is gonna be so dumb for me to bring up, but somebody on TikTok took All Eyes on Me and pitched it up to what Bo was actually singing, and then he took and pitched down to make it lower. And hearing his voice singing, I'll send you the audio if you want, because they took the music out. It's just the vocals, and you hear Bo, and it's almost like you can feel exactly what he's feeling, and it's just like, huh.
Yeah.
And it's almost like All Eyes on Me is that funny feeling.
Yep. There it is.
And I just
that's exactly where I was going with this in a second.
All Eyes on Me is
Yep.
that funny feeling.
And
like again, the funniest thing happened.
And yep, that's the line. Yeah.
There it is. That funny feeling.
And this is where, if you want proof that Bo Burnham is a genius, and again, it's clear that this was not his original intention when creating this special. He wanted to create a comedy special, obviously. But this is where it starts to show that this man thought it through. This man really is self-reflective, and maybe to a self-destructive point at times, which is, part of mental illness.
As am I.
Oh yeah, me as well. You can totally tell that this is so thought through. He is very smart artistically. And this is just an example of that. You can see his progression through it all, and you can see where he's coming. You can just see it all. You can read it all. It's right there for you. He doesn't hide it in a way that would be fake smart,
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
And last but not least is Goodbye. I always call it possible ending song because he's like, this is a possible ending song that is not finished.
Mm-hmm.
I like how this song also, if in just a little thing that I love is in the very beginning when he's looking in the mirror, he says, hi,
yeah,
this is, and then in Goodbye, say bye. Hey, here's a fun idea. How about I sit on the couch and I watch you next time? It's a really great moment that we see this reflection of the past year of his life.
Mm-hmm.
And how he's tried to grow through the past year, and how he's dealt with that mentally. And it brings back so many of the most important songs, at least in my opinion, in the entire special back into one big bow.
It's a very musical theater ending in that sense.
Oh yeah.
But we're both in a Facebook group called Not Wasting My 20s, and somebody commented, what does everyone think of Inside? And I think Goodbye is a really good sum up of what I think of it, because even though he's saying goodbye to the special and saying goodbye to the audience and everything, it's the perfect ending because it brings everything back together. But it's also as you said, it wraps it up in this beautiful bow and this beautiful package that, from start to finish is a piece. It is a complete piece. A lot of times with comedy specials or concerts, it's song, or joke. This is a piece, which is artistic in itself. But when you go from start to finish, from the beginning to goodbye, this is a piece that will stand on its own for a long time. It is a piece that marks this time in history. And when you get to goodbye and he sort of sums it all up and he gets to like, maybe I can watch you next time and everything, it's sort of looking back. Like I was watching that and listening to it for the first time and I was like, no, this is 2020. This is something they should show in history. Like obviously so many things else have happened, but if you want to mark the emotional and mental state of society, which is something that historians love to do, looking back, it's going to be inside. You have to look at inside. And once you get to goodbye and you sort of see the culmination of all the emotions, you realize like inside is the culmination, the example of the emotions of 2020 and the pandemic.
I find times, my favorite part of that entire song is, am I going crazy? Would I even know? And then right back where I started 14 years ago, want to guess the ending. If it ever does, I swear to God that all I've ever wanted was a little bit of everything all of the time. Mm-hmm. That part, when I first listened to it, I was like,
yeah,
that's literally how I feel with my mental health all the time. I'm not going to cry. Stop it.
Don't cry.
Get back in there. That is how I feel often. You think you're making so much progress and then you're like, I'm back where I started.
Yep.
I'm back inside this box where it's just me being sad. And then at the very end, there's the light. He turns and you see this messy room and he's surrounded by everything and disheveled and, like I said, stripped down everything. He put his everything into this special. Mm-hmm. And what I really want to talk about is the very ending of this special. After Goodbye ends, he's sitting in the room. It's just him, chair, all white clothes, and the door opens. Mm-hmm. He can leave. He closes it behind him and realizes that there's an audience watching him, and he starts to panic. He's having a panic attack. He's trying to get back inside the room, but he can't. He can't get back inside. And come out with your hands up. We've got you surrounded. We've got you surrounded as the audience. That's all the eyes on him, mm-hmm. watching him, and they're all laughing as he struggles. And he's sitting there, again, watching on the projector, and he looks so pissed off at all these people laughing at him and thinking that his pain is hilarious. But then he starts to smile because he was able to heal the world with comedy.
Yep.
And then it ends with, seeing the team that backed him up. He thanks Laura, his girlfriend, and there is a number for Suicide Hotline. Mm-hmm. And I think that is the best ending he could have made.
Yeah, I agree. I think it's very metaphorical in a sense, so it goes over a lot of people's heads. I know some people are very confused by the ending.
I loved the ending.
I think it's the perfect ending to that piece because it really brings everything back full circle.
When he says, like, how about I sit on the couch and I watch you next time? There were people that were like, Bo didn't want this to blow up. He literally said, how about I sit on the couch and watch you next time? Us using these songs for TikTok and analyzing them and making video essays and recording podcasts on it. He gets to sit on the couch and watch us.
Yeah.
He gets to hear us tell a joke with no one laughing in the background, and that's completely okay. Yeah. And he gets to do that. And I hope he knows that his work and his art will out like this inside has now made him, he's made his, this to me is how Bo Burnham will stay in pop culture forever.
Yeah. And I hope he realizes that.
Oh yeah.
I hope he realizes that he doesn't need to ever compare himself to this.
Oh, never.
He never needs to try and be better than inside or as good as inside. inside is a piece. Inside is a culmination of emotions and
its
feelings.
own work of art.
It is its own work of art, and an artist never needs to replicate their own work of art. And I hope Bo Burnham, I'm sure he's feeling a lot of pressure right now because of how this piece is blown up. And I don't think he ever had any intention for it to not blow up or blow up. I think he just made it to make it because he wanted to make it. And I think by saying he didn't want it to blow up as gatekeeping it. And I know I said at the beginning that I had wanted to gatekeep this from the beginning, but you can't do that because this piece is literally healing people in a way as he wanted. But I know he's feeling pressure right now. I don't know him personally, obviously, but I'm assuming he's feeling pressure right now. But I really hope he realizes that if he does decide to ever make anything again, and he doesn't need to, he really doesn't need to. And again, there might be pressure too. He never needs to create something like Inside again. He has full power to create whatever he wants. And there are going to be people who are going to try and compare everything he makes to Inside because that's the way the world works. But he never needs to be as good. Artists who try to constantly one-up themselves end up just burying themselves in the ground. Artists who create what they want to create because they can, and sometimes it blows up, sometimes it becomes this amazing thing that literally leaves a mark on society, and sometimes it's just a piece that they created that people enjoy. Those are the artists that withstand and continue to create and continue to make their mark, you know? I hope he realizes that he never needs to one-up Inside. He never needs to recreate Inside in another sense. I hope he realizes that, like, the fans that he has will always support him no matter what he creates, even if it is not Inside again, you know?
Yes.
Inside 2, stuck here still.
So, to kind of close this out, there's something that I want to tell you, Aurora. So, I know we said we're not expecting Bo Burnham to create anything new, but apparently he did a show a few nights ago, a live show.
I thought you were going to say, he's on this call right now, Aurora.
Oh my God. I'm looking for...
I was like, B, where is he?
Where's Bo? Let me find... Where was it? But there is... He did a live show in Los Angeles. So... if he chooses to tour again, which again, Bo, if you're listening to this, which you're probably not, you don't have to tour again. You don't have to do anything. I will be content for the rest of my life watching the specials you have put out and watching compilations of interviews of you on YouTube and I am content doing that. But if you decide to go on there, Aurora, we're going, right?
Yeah.
Absolutely, we're going.
Yeah.
If he goes to Toronto, we're going. And I'm gonna cry the whole time.
Yeah. Yeah, that's the thing, is that we expect artists to constantly create things, but art is, you can't be creative 24/7. Sometimes your creativity runs out. Sometimes it's exhausting to be creative for other people, you know? So you can't expect people to continue to be creative their whole life and to continue to put out content. Content is exhausting.
Oh, yeah.
I hate the word content. Content is exhausting. And if you're constantly creating things for other people, it's exhausting. So we cannot expect Bo Burnham to, you know, keep, bounce from this to another special. We can't expect that, you know?
No, there's no way.
I just remembered, I've seen 8th grade. I forgot 8th grade.
Yeah.
I totally forgot that. I forgot. That was my first intro to Bo Burnham, was 8th grade. There we go. Anyway.
Anyways, I think we should close this mother out because we've been talking for 2 hours.
I think it's going to have to be a 2-parter, B.
A two-part podcast. It's fine. What are we going to try this week?
I am going to try to forgive myself for my perfectionism and pressures. Forgive myself for the pressures that I put on myself to be something that I physically can't be.
That's a lot better than what I was going to say.
What were you gonna say?
I'm gonna watch Inside again.
That's fine too. That's good. Do that.
That's what I'm gonna Anyways, I hope y'all enjoyed this week of the podcast. We're very happy to be back.
Yes.
I'm
happy to have my Mondays back in general to record podcasts.
I'm happy to be doing this again. Yeah. I'm very tired today.
Me too. Hey folks, you know the drill. Follow us on Instagram, leave us a voice memo, the link in our bio, and tune in next Sunday for another fun-filled ranting session.
Tell us what your favorite song from Inside is.
Yeah, do that.
All right. We will see y'all next week.
Hey. Crazy.
Do. Haven't done this in a while.
No.